Cristiano Ronaldo broke almost every scoring record football has, but there's one World Cup record he never came close to winning. Ronaldo Nazario won it twice. Eusebio scored 9 in one tournament and became the only Portuguese player the World Cup ever really remembered. Miroslav Klose spent 4 tournaments building a record that lasted 12 years. Every great forward left the World Cup with something that belonged to him alone, except the man with 143 international goals. But the hardest part isn't that Ronaldo watched the World Cup scoring record go to someone else. The hardest part is that he watched it happen in the same tournament he is playing in. Because when two rivals exist in different moments, you can explain the distance. When they share the same stage, there is nowhere to look. And the man who understood that feeling the longest was Messi himself. Before the 2026 World Cup, Messi hadn't even committed to playing. His father was dealing with a health issue. A hamstring problem had followed him through the final weeks of the club season. The question was never whether Messi was the best. The question was whether the best would show up. And then he scored a hat trick in Game 1, a brace in Game 2. By his second match, Messi had 18 World Cup goals, more than any player in history. And the record that Ronaldo spent 20 years approaching was already gone. That's not the story most people expected. But to understand why it happened, you can't start with the record. You have to start with what the World Cup actually measures. For years, the argument between Messi and Ronaldo ran on the same track: goals, trophies, individual brilliance. And on almost every measure, the debate stayed alive because both men kept raising the line. Ronaldo reached 143 international goals. Messi reached 122. Ronaldo leads. And there are stretches of their careers where each one seemed to be pulling ahead permanently. But the World Cup was always different. Not because it's the biggest tournament, because it's the only one that cannot be won alone. And here's how you know. Ronaldo has appeared at 6 World Cups. The first in 2006, when he was 21 and Portugal finished 4th. It felt for a moment like the beginning of something long. He was already the most talented young player in Europe. Portugal had a generation. 2010, a quarterfinal exit. 2014, knocked out in the group stage. 2018, gone in the round of 16. 2022, a quarterfinal against Morocco, and the night that felt like the final chapter. Each tournament ended in the same place, before the weekend where history actually gets made. But none of this answers the harder question. What does that have to do with Messi? Ronaldo said it himself more than once. The World Cup was the one thing his career was still missing. When a player with 143 international goals, more Ballon d'Or awards than anyone since the count began, and a career that rewrote almost every record that existed. When that player says the World Cup is what's missing, it tells you exactly what record he was watching. But the story gets much harder when you follow Messi's side of it, because Messi didn't arrive at 2026 with a clean run. He arrived having lived the same story Ronaldo is still inside. 2010, Argentina knocked out. 2014, he won the Golden Ball as the tournament's best player. Argentina lost the final. 2018, out in the round of 16 against France. For a decade, Messi carried the exact weight Ronaldo carries now. But the story gets much harder when you follow Messi's side of it, because Messi didn't arrive at 2026 with a clean run. He arrived having lived the same story Ronaldo is still inside. So what changed? Qatar 2022. Argentina won. And that moment did something that no amount of goals or awards had ever managed. It freed him, not from expectation, from the need to prove the same thing twice. Messi arrived at 2026 as the world champion, not chasing history, running alongside it. And that specific kind of freedom, the kind that only a World Cup title gives, is exactly what Ronaldo has never had. And that's where the record actually lives. It isn't only about the goals scored in this tournament. If it were only about goals, Ronaldo's 143 for Portugal would settle the argument permanently. But the World Cup doesn't count internet. Career arrives in a single game, and Messi came to 2026 already knowing what winning feels like. Ronaldo arrived still chasing it. That's why the gap looks the way it does right now. Messi with 5 in 2 games. Ronaldo getting off the mark in the 3rd. Both on the same stage. Both in their 6th World Cup. And the distance between them isn't finishing. It isn't speed. It's what one of them carries into every match that the other never could. Because the obstacle isn't only the record, it's the team. If this were a fight between 2 strikers, the story would be simple. But a World Cup doesn't only test what a player can do. It tests what the 11 players around him can do when it matters most. And Portugal has never given Ronaldo that. Not in 2006. Not in 2014. Not in 2022. A country with one of the greatest players in history could never build the machine that meant. That brings us back to where he started. Madeira, 1985. A family with nothing behind them. At 11, he moved alone to Lisbon, to Sporting's academy, leaving leaving his mother, leaving his island, because football was the only plan he had. No backup, no alternative. Just the belief that if he worked hard enough, everything he wanted would come. And then he worked, and it came. The goals, the trophies, the records, the awards. Everything came except the one thing he named every time someone asked what was still missing. That's not a biography detail. That's how far the gap is between what Ronaldo built and what the World Cup still hasn't given him. And that brings us back to this tournament. Messi scored his hat trick in Game 1. By the time Argentina played their second match, the record was already broken, not during a quiet group stage game. In the same week, Ronaldo was still preparing to play Portugal's first match. The record that took 12 years to approach was gone in 2 games, and when Ronaldo finally scored 2 goals against Uzbekistan, it felt like the counter-argument. Portugal alive, Ronaldo on the board, but Messi already had 5. The milestone Ronaldo spent 20 years watching had already moved on. That's why Ronaldo's position in this tournament is different from every other record he owns. The 143 international goals. He built those on his own terms. He scored when Portugal needed him and when they didn't, in friendlies and in finals, in good years and in the ones where the team fell apart around him. That record belongs entirely to him, but the World Cup never worked that way. You can't score 10 goals when your team exits in the quarterfinal. You can't chase a tournament record in the matches that don't happen. He isn't only waiting for the goals, he's waiting for Portugal to do what Argentina did in 2022, and a World Cup doesn't hand out many of those. And the whole time, we were asking the wrong question, because it was never about who scored more. This was never a race between 2 footballers. A World Cup decides what the game remembers, and what it remembers isn't the career total. It's what you did in the specific weeks when history was actually reachable. Messi had 2022 before he had 2026. He arrived with the title already in his hands and the record already within reach. Ronaldo arrived at his 6th tournament, still waiting for Portugal to give him what Argentina gave Messi 4 years ago, and the record he spent 20 years approaching didn't wait. Ronaldo waits because Portugal's team has never matched the moment. He waits because Messi got to 2026 already free, and Ronaldo has only this tournament, and the record he was always chasing already belongs to someone else. So the real question was never who has 143 goals. Portugal already answered that, and Argentina answered the other half. The real question is harder. Will Ronaldo's 6th World Cup give him the one thing 20 years of goals never could? Because no one knows better what it looks like to arrive at the last tournament and realize the record you spent your whole career chasing moved on without you.